Welcome to our Puppy 201 orientation. We're looking forward to meeting you and your puppy. My name is Kathleen Haggerty, and I'm a volunteer KPA certified trainer in the Behavior and Training Department at the Animal Refuge League of Greater Portland. And I'm so excited that you've decided to sign your puppy up for our Puppy 201 class, Rallying the Rascals. Let's dive in together. What are we going to cover during orientation? First, we're going to look at your puppy's stage of development. And these puppies are in between two stages, juvenile and adolescent. We'll talk about where they are now. We'll talk about how dogs think. We'll check our expectations because these puppies are still young and developing. We'll talk about what shapes behavior. Then we'll talk about marker training, which is the type of training we'll be doing in this class. We'll move on to problem solving, which is an important skill during this time frame. We'll review the class themes: a thinking brain, get out and move, stay and play, and relaxation. And lastly, we'll talk about class information, what you need to know before your first in-person class. Now let's look at your puppy's stage of development. In Puppy 201, the puppies are 18 weeks to 8 months. Some of your puppies are still in the elementary age, which is approximately 4 to 7 months. This is after the socialization period, but socialization is still crucial. Socialization involves exposing puppies to people, dogs, animals, objects, noises, surfaces, and different environments. At this stage, puppies begin to become more independent, and they naturally become more fearful of novel items. Some of your puppies are entering the teenage age. This begins between 6 to 9 months to 2 years. At this stage, puppies are completing their physical maturity, but are not yet socially mature. They're becoming even more independent. Consistency and predictability are essential during this stage. Prevention and management are also really important. We want to manage our puppy's behavior so they're not having a high level of reward for behaviors we don't want, such as jumping up, mouthing, demand barking, or chewing objects. Physical and mental stimulation is important for all dogs, but especially at this age. Providing enough physical and mental stimulation can help reduce nuisance behaviors. At this stage right now, your mantra is training, enrichment, and consistency. Let's say it together: training, enrichment, and consistency. Now let's look at how dogs think. So first, opportunistic. If there is something in a dog's environment, they're very likely to interact with it. And they will do it in the way that dogs do: bark, dig, chew. This is true if there are toys out, socks, food, shoes, or other things in their environment. Amoral. Dogs don't have a sense of right and wrong the same way that people do. As far as we know, humans are the only species with a moral compass. Dogs don't know the difference between right and wrong. They view the world in a different way. Self-centered. So dogs are only capable of viewing the world from their own perspective. They can't view the world from our perspective, from the perspective of another dog, or from another animal. Dogs are social. Like us, dogs are a social species. They can be social with other dogs, with other animals, and they're definitely social with us, which makes them wonderful members of our households. But just like people, dogs have different levels of how they want to engage socially. In our society, we have the expectation that dogs will be okay with anyone touching them at any time, but there's lots of individual differences. Imagine if that was a human expectation, to go up to everyone you saw and shake their hand. Dogs explore the world with their mouths and noses. Think of a dog's mouth like a hand. If we see something on the ground, we pick it up with our hand to take a look at it. A dog would smell it and pick it up with their mouth. This can be really tricky with a mouthful of sharp teeth. Dogs are always learning from their actions. Dogs learn what's safe to do and what's not safe to do. And they will learn from their actions what works and what doesn't work. Some of these traits may sound negative, but it's actually because of this way of thinking that makes dogs amazing. Imagine if you saw some of these traits on a resume or on a dating profile. Opportunistic, amoral, self-centered. These would be red flags. But it's this combination of traits that makes dogs unique and fantastic. They live in the moment and they focus on what's happening now. Now let's check our expectations. First, this sounds very obvious, but it's important to remember that dogs don't speak English. They don't speak Spanish, German, French, or any other language. It's true that dogs can understand specific cues or words, but they interact with the world with their bodies. For that reason, human body language is really important to dogs. How we act and how we carry ourselves affects our dogs. And this is why your dog can pick up on your mood and notice when you're carrying yourself differently. If you come into the house and you're really happy and excited, they can notice that. Or if you're feeling sad or not feeling well, they can notice that too. Dogs are also very sensitive to our tone of voice. You can ask your dog in a happy, excited voice, "Are you driving me nuts today? Are you?" And they'll still get really excited, wagging their tail. This next one is really important. It's okay for them to communicate. Growling, barking, and showing teeth is actually okay. When a dog is communicating this way, they're letting you know that they need space. Something is either not right or not comfortable. In that moment, it might not seem reasonable to us, but it's important to pause and think about what's happening right now that's causing them to need to communicate that. If your dog is doing this a lot, we definitely want to explore it, but it's important to be careful about correcting that behavior. Otherwise, the dog can learn that the communication didn't work and start to escalate. For example, a dog going from a freeze to a bite, or a growl to an air snap. A dog's brain is 1/10 the size of a human's brain, but the part that controls smell is 40 times larger. You might have seen some videos that tug on your heartstrings of animals reunited with people after a long time. And the dog might see them, but be very hesitant until they smell that person's familiar scent. It's a very, very different world. Dogs explore the world with their nose and their mouth versus their eyes and ears. And when a dog is sniffing, they're gathering information. It's really important to allow them to do that. Otherwise, it can create stress and anxiety. Lastly, dogs aren't stubborn. I know it can feel that way sometimes, but really the two most likely situations are that either they just don't understand what we're communicating or they're too distracted. Sometimes I feel like my dog is being stubborn, but I try to pause and think about what can I do to help my communication or reduce distractions. It can look or feel like being stubborn, but dogs are not willfully disobeying. What shapes a dog's behavior? There are three main areas that shape behavior: genetics, experience, and learning. Let's look at genetics first. Genetics is an important influence on behavior. It's important to research your puppy's breed, whether your puppy is purebred or a mixed breed. Next, experiences shape dogs' behavior. Dogs take in a lot of information from their experiences with people, other dogs, other animals, and different environments. Lastly, learning shapes behavior. What we teach them is really important, and we can provide dogs with positive learning experiences. Together, all of these three factors influence behavior. Next, we're going to talk about marker training. In marker training, we mark the behavior that we want, and then we reinforce the learner. You've probably actually done marker training before without even knowing it. If your dog has done something that you liked and you said yes, and then you petted your dog or gave your dog a treat, that's actually a form of marker training. And in this class, we're just going to clean up that process a bit together. So marker training is used to teach or improve behaviors. The steps in marker training are first to get the behavior. For example, having a dog offer a sit, marking the moment the behavior happens, when the dog's bottom touches the ground, and reinforcing the dog by offering a treat. There are different types of markers we can use in marker training. One type of marker is a verbal marker, simply saying yes. Using a phrase that's longer, such as good dog, or good boy, or good girl, is actually too long. The verbal marker needs to be one syllable. The other challenge is that a longer phrase, like good dog, can sometimes be confused for reinforcement. The other type of marker is a clicker, which is a small acoustic device. A clicker is the best type of marker because it's consistent no matter who is using it or how that person is feeling. If we went around the room and each of you said yes once, each person's yes would sound a little bit different than the next person's. If we passed a clicker around the room and everyone took a turn clicking it, it would sound exactly the same every time. There are different types of reinforcement that we can offer to our dogs. The first type of reinforcement is food. In class, this is the primary type of reinforcement that we'll be using because there are a lot of distractions in a group class. The next type of reinforcement are toys. Sometimes playing with a puppy can be a great way to offer reinforcement. The third type of reinforcement is physical touch and verbal praise. For some dogs, those things can be very reinforcing. Lastly, certain activities can be reinforcements. For example, if you ask your dog to sit before you allow them to run outside, or to look toward you before they sniff the grass. It's important to think about what's actually reinforcing for your dog, rather than what we think should be reinforcing. For example, your boss at work may think that saying good job is reinforcing, where we might really prefer a bonus or a raise. Next, we're going to talk about problem solving. Problem solving is an important skill set to have when you have a juvenile and adolescent puppy. We're going to be using this problem solving framework throughout the class. Let's do a quick review. Step number 1 is identify the BAR. BAR stands for before, action, and result. Before, what is happening beforehand? What's the trigger for this behavior? The example I'm going to use here is a puppy chewing on a shoe. What happens before is that a shoe is left out. The action, what does my dog do? Describe it using a verb. In this case, the puppy chews on the shoe. Then result, what did the dog achieve? It's important to think about it from their perspective, not ours. In this example, chewing on a shoe for the puppy feels good and reduces anxiety and stress. The next step is to look at the motivation for the behavior. There are 2 options for motivation. The motivation for the behavior might be self-rewarding, or it could be rewarded by us, by human attention. In the case of chewing on a shoe, the motivation for the puppy is self-rewarding. One way to think about this is that it's rewarding for a puppy to chew on a shoe, whether or not there's a person present in the room. Step 3 is management. These are the things you can do to adjust the environment to help set your dog up for success. In the example we used, you could put the shoes away, set up a baby gate so the puppy can't access that room, close the door of the room, or keep the puppy in an exercise pen. Step 4 is to solve it. You have 2 options in this step. You can either ignore the behavior or think about what else can the puppy do instead. With certain behaviors, such as jumping up and excessive barking, ignoring it can be very beneficial, since human attention is the reinforcement for those behaviors. However, if a behavior is self-rewarding, like a puppy chewing on a shoe, or even certain types of barking, we can't ignore those behaviors because the action itself is rewarding to the puppy. We need to think about what else the puppy can do instead. For example, we can offer the puppy an appropriate chew toy instead of the shoe. This class can be started at any time, and we have 4 themes. In each class, we start out with 2 warm-up exercises, look and touch. Look gets your dog's focus with a single word. Touch helps to direct your dog's movements. In the class, A Thinking Brain, our training topics will be sit and down. Our focus will be on down with a brief look at sit. We will look at luring and capturing to achieve these behaviors. Our enrichment topic that week will be make at home toys. Easy toys that you can make at home to help provide enrichment for your puppy. Our problem prevention topic will be independence training. Independence training is an absolute must during this developmental period to build confidence and prevent your puppy from developing separation anxiety. In our Get Out and Move class, the training topic will be loose leash walking. We'll be practicing the red light, green light technique. Our enrichment topic for this class will be scent. We'll be exploring different ways to engage your puppy's sense of smell. Our training topic that week will be recall, or coming when called. We'll practice 2 recall exercises. The first one is called Magic Word, and the second is Follow Me. In this class, we'll discuss 2 problem prevention topics, jumping on people and counter-cruising and stealing objects. In our Stay and Play class, our first exercise will be, no big surprise, stay. This is one of the best behaviors you can teach a dog, especially during this developmental period. Our enrichment topic will be interactive toys. There are a variety of fancy things that you can get for your dog at supply stores, and we'll talk about some of these fun interactive toys. Our training topics this week will be drop it and leave it. We'll talk about how does a dog drop an item? How does a dog leave an item? Our problem prevention topic this week will be resource guarding. We'll talk about what it is, why it happens, and what we can do about it. In our relaxation class, our first training topic will be helping your dog practice relaxation on a mat. Our next training topic will be an exercise called Engage, Disengage. This exercise helps to promote calm behavior to a known trigger. Our third training topic for this class is pattern games. Pattern games help with relaxation if a dog is feeling anxious, distracted, or reactive and helps build confidence. Our enrichment topic that week will be discussing dog sociability with dogs and with people. Our problem prevention topic will be timeout or break time, because we all need opportunities to reset, including our pups. Next, let's discuss the class information you'll need to know before your first class. Due to COVID-19, only 2 family members can join us for each class. If you are not fully vaccinated for COVID-19, a mask is required. If you are fully vaccinated for COVID-19, please see your class email for current mask guidelines at the Animal Refuge League of Greater Portland. Everyone in the class, dogs and people, must stay 6 feet apart. In this class, no dogs can meet other dogs or people. No retractable leashes for this class. A retractable leash would be something like a flexi leash with a larger plastic case that extends. The reason that we don't use them in our classes is that you'll already have your hands full with a clicker and some treats, and these leashes can also be more prone to breaking than regular leashes. Please plan to arrive 5 to 10 minutes prior to class to get set up. Be sure to check your email before class starts for any cancellations. If we do need to cancel a class and it's less than an hour before the class, we will call you. If you are showing any symptoms, please do stay home. For any questions or concerns, please contact the Behavior and Training Department at 207-517-3953 or by emailing training@arlgp.org. Now let's talk about what to bring each week to class. A 4 to 6 foot leash is required. A flat or a martingale collar is also required. We highly recommend treat pouches. You must provide your own treats. Please come prepared as we go through a lot. Please bring a bed or blanket for your dog to lie on, and a favorite toy for your dog, without a squeaker if possible. A mask is required if you are not fully vaccinated for COVID-19. If you are fully vaccinated for COVID-19, please see your class email for current mask guidelines at the ARLGP. When you arrive for your first class, please enter through the IDEX entrance, which is to the right of the play yard. When you walk through the door, you'll make an immediate left into our community room. If you're coming on your own, sometimes it's helpful to leave your puppy in the car and get set up first. Thank you so much for watching our orientation video. We look forward to meeting you and your puppy in class. If you have any questions, please reach out to us.